Hello everybody, my name is Noah and I'm here with Jessica Harris. And I saw her speak yesterday in front of a huge crowd, and what she had to say really blew me away, and I just knew that I wanted to get her in front of a camera so I could share it with all of you. Because I know that there are a lot of women out there who are struggling with pornography and think that they're all alone because we have a society that tends to tell us that it's a man's problem and that no woman would normally look at such things. But that's just not true in this age when we have an unlimited amount of streaming internet porn. So thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing yourself and your story and being here with me today.
Thank you.
Please tell us all a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Jessica, like Noah said, and I travel around and I speak about women who struggle with pornography addiction. And really my job is just to raise awareness for it, just to get the conversation started. Because like you said, so many women who struggle feel alone. And because they feel alone, they're not willing to even come forward and talk to anybody because they feel like something's wrong with them. Because why would a woman watch this stuff? Why would she do that? Just the way we framed the discussion around pornography has just trapped so many women who find themselves watching it. I was exposed when I was 13, and I became heavily addicted to it by the time I was 17. And there were no resources at all for women. You Googled, help me get out of porn. Actually, it wasn't even Google then, I think it was probably Yahoo, but you Googled, help me get out of porn, and everything was for men, talking about how if you didn't get out, you were going to be a serial killer or a rapist or like this horrible person. And I just thought, like me? What?
How did that make you feel knowing that you were using this stuff?
Oh, it made me feel horrible.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of woman am I? Am I going to become a serial killer? Like, what's wrong with me? I don't understand. And so I struggled. I was caught in college, and they said, we know this wasn't you. Women don't do this. Women can't have this problem. So
they noticed a high amount of traffic going to these sites in one of the rooms or something?
Right. They had, in my college, you had to log on to the internet. You had your own username and log in for the internet just to access the internet at all. Kind of like a public library would. You would log into the computer. And your history was tracked. It was recorded. And the filters at the school flagged it and printed off the entire report of every website that I had ever visited for any reason.
Wow.
And then someone went through and highlighted all of the ones that were obviously pornographic. And they put them all on the table in front of me, and they were like, somebody has a problem. That somebody was me, but they thought it was somebody else.
They just assumed that someone had used your account?
They assumed that I had given it to somebody.
Okay.
Here's my username and password. You have fun, and you won't get caught. That's what I got punished for that. I got reprimanded for that. I had to sign a contract saying I would never give away my password again. And the whole time it was me.
Was this content just normal vanilla pornography?
Absolutely
or what?
not. No, I was into very dark fetishes, very violent. Not quite rape fantasies, but just a step before.
And what drew you to that type of content?
I didn't start watching that type of content. I was first exposed to pretty vanilla hardcore pornography, and even that was too intense for me when I was 13. But it still drew me into that world where I started watching maybe more erotic and soft core, did a lot of chat room sex, and then just kind of moved into just progressively got darker and darker and more violent, and this wasn't working, so you move on to the next thing, and if that's a little too strong, you turn into that kid who's watching the movies with their hands over their eyes, like.
But you still kind of wanted to see it?
You still kind of want to see it, so you're kind of like, or you close the screen, like, whew, and then you go back and you start it again, so just I desensitized myself really and just worked into this deeper, darker stuff. So I wasn't immediately drawn to it. If you had shown me the stuff I was watching at 17, if you had shown me that at 13, I would have never looked at pornography. But that's not how it happened. It was a gradual process.
Did you ever talk with anybody about what you were seeing on the internet?
No. My mother found out when I was 14 that I was looking at porn sites. She was searching for something, and the porn site auto-populated in the little drop-down menu, and she freaked out. She lost it, and she pulled me into the room. She says, "Who told you about sex? Who told you about this stuff? How did you find this? How did I fail you as a mom? What did I do wrong? Why are you doing this? I don't understand why you're doing this." I'm a girl too, and I never felt like this. I never wanted to do this. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know what I did wrong.
Wow.
Back and forth, and please tell me you were just curious. Please tell me you won't do it again. Please tell me that you just wanted to see what it was and that you're done. And
Well, how did you feel? What did you say?
I was kind of crushed because I was already dealing with my own kind of conflicts about this, and here she was wanting me to tell her how to fix this, and I had no idea. I just said I wanted to stop because she was crying, she was so emotional, and I said, "Mom, it's fine. I just did it because I was curious. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll never do it again."
It's like you wanted to make her feel better.
Right. And then the next day,
right back
at it again.
Maybe with a little bit better.
Yes.
Deleting history.
Right. I learned how to delete history. Back in the day, they had a little ad on the porn sites, make sure you clear your history. Use this, a little software or whatever. And I learned how to clear my history, and not just clear it, but then to go in and type in normal websites that we visited to make sure that the history wasn't completely empty. So I had learned how to cover and conceal.
How do you think this whole process of being addicted to pornography and hiding it from your family affected you? What did you lose? How did you change as a person?
Well, I did not have any close relationships with anybody at all. My family, no friends, nobody at school. It's kind of what do you want from me? Okay, I'll give that to you. What do you want from me? Okay, I'll give that to you. And just nobody ever got close enough. And I made sure they never got close enough to find out. They never got close enough to ask. I never formed those deep relationships with people because I was afraid of them finding out. And even my family, because of the way my mom had reacted, I thought, if you knew that I was still doing this, I don't even want to know what's going to happen. And I would just, if people said, "Oh, you're so great," and "Oh, we love you," or your family even, "Oh, I love you so much," you wouldn't if you knew what was happening right now. So really pushing back against any kind of relationship, and really just almost becoming numb, or putting on masks. Okay, you want me to be a perfect student? Fine. You want me to be a perfect daughter? Fine. You want me to, I was active in church, you want me to say I love Jesus? Fine. I just blocked it all off and just did what people wanted. And it's interesting because someone actually said, "Isn't that exactly how the women in porn operate? You want me to do this? Fine. You want me to do this? Go ahead." And I had almost learned that who I was didn't really matter to people. What they needed from me was this, and I needed to give them that. I needed to be the perfect daughter, the perfect student, perfect whoever. My struggles and what I was dealing with didn't matter at all.
Sounds like you had a wall of masks and you just could pick, this mask is the one I need today, I'll put that one on.
Right.
Were you sexually active at this time? Did you have boyfriends?
No, I was not sexually active. I was your typical good girl. I was the 4.0 student. I was active in my church. I was active in my school. I had a social life. I did extracurricular activities. You wouldn't consider me isolated in social settings. I wasn't the weirdo sitting off in the corner. I was interacting. I was hanging out with the captain of the football team. And everyone at school knew I was a virgin because I was very proud of that fact. I was very outspoken about how you shouldn't have sex before marriage. I was a virgin. Meanwhile, watching porn. So it was just this, I never sexually acted out. And I think that confused people even more. How can you be into porn and not sexually acting out? And
right.
I even had a boyfriend my senior year of high school who, when he tried to put his hand too far down, I dumped him on the spot. I have morals, I have standards, and you are not going to be touching me like that, and just dumped him on the spot. So I just, again, that mask though of, this is what they expect of me. They expect me to wait and not to be sexually active, so yes, I'll do that.
So it sounds like you didn't have any outward signs that you were struggling inside. You were hitting all the points of success, the superficial points of success.
Yeah.
But inside, you're probably in a lot of pain.
A lot of pain and a lot of struggle, and I just kept thinking, if I make this next person happy, this will all stop. If I achieve this next success, this will go away. If I reach, I gotta find something that can that makes me feel more full than pornography does. Like, if I just get my 4.0 and graduate valedictorian, then this will all stop, and I'll be happy, and I'll be satisfied, and I'll be successful, and I won't worry about this anymore. Or if I just get the right boyfriend, then this will all stop. And it never stopped. It was never, all of the scholarships and the accolades and the awards that I won, just never enough. It was never enough.
Where was the turning point? When did things change?
For the better or for the worse?
Well, let's start with for the worse.
For the worst. So I was caught in college, like I had said.
Right.
They told me women don't have this problem, but I had wanted to get help. I had gotten to the point where I understood that my life was being consumed by this. It was destroying me. I was watching pornography for hours a day. I was losing sleep. My grades were harder to keep up. So I had Googled or searched help for breaking free from porn or getting out of porn, and everything was for men. So I was like, all right, I'm on my own. And I would, this is going to date me, but I would save pictures to floppy disks. And I would snap them open then, just like in rage and anger, so much anger. I would snap them open, and I would take a magnet and run it across that disc in the middle, and then I would just slice them up with scissors. Because it was just like, if I get angry enough at it, I'll stop.
Sounds like you were in a purge and then binge cycle.
It was a lot. And then I started to transition into like a self-harm, because when that didn't work, then when I would use pornography, I would just go into like the bathroom and just start banging my head against the tub, and just like banging my head, thinking like, if I can make this hurt, maybe I'll stop. If I can make this bad, if I can punish myself for doing this, maybe it'll stop. And I think that might actually be part of why I started getting into such violent, so much more violent stuff, because here I was being violent towards myself, so why would I have a problem with someone being violent towards somebody else? But I would just beat myself up because I wanted it to stop. And
sounds like you really thought you deserved to be punished.
I did. I felt like a freak in a way. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can I not fix this? Why can't I stop this? Why I can sit here and see what it's doing to my life. I didn't really have a moral reason at that point why it was bad. I was raised in the church, but I wasn't a believer. It was more like mask. It was just doing what my mom wanted me to do. So logically, I was a very logical person. Like, I could see where it was destroying my life, and why wasn't that enough for me to stop? And then I got angry at it. That wasn't enough. So I just have to punish myself. Like, that's the only way I can fix this. And so I really wanted help, but I didn't know who to talk to. Who do you go up to and say, like, I'm a girl, a perfect girl, and I struggle with like hardcore violent pornography? Like, you don't have that conversation with people.
I'm guessing the whole punishing yourself didn't work.
It did not work, no. So I tried to get help. I got caught at the college, and I thought, yay, I got caught. They're going to say, was this you? And I can say, yes. Yes is really easy. Like, I can do yes.
Yeah.
And then when they said, well, we know this wasn't you, that was my last. That was my last. For me, it was my last hope. And I thought, okay, well, the only women in the world who are okay with pornography like this are the women who are in pornography like this. So I was 17 years old and was hoping to become a doctor, but I was like, you know what? Forget it. I can't do this. I can't live like this. And if I can't get out of it, if you can't beat them, join them. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to have to be an actress. I'm going to have to go into porn. Like, that's the only way my life is going to make sense, is if I just do this. So I started to figure out how to get into the porn industry, and it's not like applying to Walmart. You've got to actually, like, it's not the same process. There's no online application for this. So I had a hard time figuring that out. And in that process, I met a guy online who asked me for my personal information, who I gave all my personal information to. I'm a very smart girl, 4.0 student, very logical person, and here I am giving him, here's my real name, here's my real age, my real date of birth, my real phone number, my real address, and access to our entire college intro lab. Like, here's my username and password for that, so you can find me and every other female college student on campus. And then he asked me for pictures. And it was the first time that I had ever sent nude pictures of myself to somebody. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is going to be the deciding moment of whether or not I can do this with my life. And I sent him the pictures. I hated it. I hated that I had gotten to that place where I'm no longer behind a mask anymore. Like, I'm completely exposed. And he sent back and said, "You're beautiful." And just like that, I would have done anything for him. And he would send in special orders of pictures that he wanted. And Christian college campus, 17 years old, here I am being someone's personal porn star. So that's how it turned for the worse. That's the bottom of the barrel there. And then the next year, I had to leave that school. Financial problems took me back home to the land of dial-up, where you can't really just send pictures of yourself easily. And then the next year, I ended up in a different school where they just said, "We know some of you in here are struggling with pornography." A room full of girls.
Wow.
They said, "We know some of you are struggling, and we are here to help you." And I was like, "What?" I've never heard this before. I've never heard that. And so then I just had the opportunity to just tell somebody, "This is me, and can you help me?" And they said, "Yes, and you're brave for telling us, and we can help you." And just like that.
I'm
not
so
quite
glad
just like
you
that.
ended up going to that school and
exactly.
the right people there were able to help you.
But it's kind of funny because after that meeting, you could kind of tell who the girls were that needed help. When they said that, the air left the room, and you had half of the girls who were completely shocked, and the other half were like, when they said it, I thought, how did they know? I didn't visit any websites here. I felt like they were just talking to me. And then they gave out one resource, one workbook that they had designed. And so the girls who had it knew what it looked like, and you could kind of spot it in other people's bags. You're like, oh, and you too. But no, there was never an open conversation. There was never a support group or anything like that.
But you had support in the staff and someone to talk to. And
yes.
Tell me a little bit more about how it felt to finally have someone else tell somebody else, break down those walls.
That was so freeing for me. It was absolutely terrifying at first. I thought, this is it. If I confess it to somebody and I still can't find help, there is nothing. There is no other way to get out of this. This is the last hope for me, the real last hope. If I go up to someone who said I can trust them, and I say, "Here's my stuff. Here, this is it.
This is me."
And they go, "Oh no," then I'm in trouble because I cannot be fixed at that point. So telling them was terrifying. I cried. I was scared. I thought they were going to kick me out of the school. I wanted to go to them and say, "Please don't kick me out. Please, please, please. I really need help, and you cannot turn your back on me. Do not walk away from me. I really need you." But they came to me and they said, "That was so brave." And brave? I don't feel brave. I hide behind a computer screen. I push people away. I'm an angry, defensive person. What do you mean brave? And they said, "No, that was so brave, and we're going to help you." And there was such freedom in that moment because you believe all these lies, that you're alone, that you're a freak, that you can't be helped. And so for somebody, another woman especially, to come to you and say, "This was brave, you're not alone, and we're going to help you," tears down all of those lies and kind of gives you a chance to say, what else am I believing that's not true? What else have I been telling myself this whole time that's not accurate? And it kind of gives you that strength to stand up and say, I might actually be able to get out of this. Maybe I can really be okay. It gives you that chance to feel that hope. And that's what it was for me. It was this is going to be hard. And I knew it was going to be hard because I had tried on my own. And it's not just because you tell somebody proof it's done. And now people are up in my business, and now people are asking really personal, private questions. Right. And now people are like, "So, did you watch porn? Did you masturbate? Did you think about sex? How's it going for you?" And you're like, "I don't feel like talking to you about this." So I knew it was going to be hard, and I knew it was going to be really intense. But I was very hopeful that I could get out because they had said something. I thought, I'm not the only woman. That means that there's hope for me. This is fixable. So it was scary, but it was really good at the same time.
I felt just the same way when I realized I'm not the only one who's broken by this, because I had used enough that I couldn't function sexually in real life. And I had no idea why until I heard the stories of other people and realized it's not just me. I'm not such an outlier that no one can help me. So after that, was it smooth sailing? Did you struggle?
Yeah, it was probably a very, I would say 2 years where I still struggled a lot. The school I was at had filters, so it was, they didn't track you, they blocked you from going to these things. They didn't want you accessing pornography at the school. So that was easy to not have access to it, but pornography just kind of lives in your brain. You don't have to have access to it. And so it was a lot of learning how to stop thinking about it by thinking about other things. Because even if you go, stop thinking about porn, stop thinking about porn, stop thinking about porn, you're still thinking about porn. So I would go home from that school though, and immediately once I was back at that computer, back in that same place, would just go right back into it again and again and again during my breaks. And it would be so frustrating for me because I think, I can survive at school without this. Why can't I just live a normal life when I'm at home? Why am I still spending hours searching for this stuff? Why am I still going back to that place? And it was a lot of intense one-on-one sessions and like just talking through and dealing with things like trauma and forgiveness and anger and all of those kind of negative emotions that can take you to that space, and just walking through all of that. And one of the times I went home on break, I came back and I had realized that I could say no. Like, it just, for whatever reason, it makes sense, but it didn't at the time, and it just clicked for me. I don't have to do this. Like, if I don't like it, I don't have to do this. I can stop. And it still wasn't smooth sailing. It's not like it was a clean cut. And there are still times where I'm like, I'm bored, I'm stressed, this would work for me right now. You know, and there are times when I first got a laptop, that was hard. Learning how to set boundaries for that, and I'm not addicted, but I can still go back and visit it again. Even though I know the harms, and even though I know so much more now about the dangers of it than I did then, I can still be like, nah, it's 5 minutes, it'll be all right. When I first got a smartphone, same thing. Oh my goodness, internet right in my hand, and it's mine, and it's right here, and no one has to see it.
And afterward, do you still feel like it's all right?
After I do it?
Yeah.
No. I'm always like, well, that was not as satisfying as I thought that was going to be, and that was a bit of a waste of time, and now I feel bad about myself, and I'm never like, let's do that again. It's just like, oh, it's a one at a time thing where I go, oh, let's try that. Ugh, nope, still doesn't work, and move on with your life. And
how did your recovery progress, and how do you feel now compared to how you felt back then?
It was a lot. It was so much in my head, and I didn't realize how much it was in my head until I took away the actual pornography itself and had to deal with how do you function in life when you sit in a lecture and all of a sudden a porn video is playing in your head. And you can't just like close your eyes. There's nothing you can do. Like what do you do? How do you function when these things are stored in there and they're just kind of doing their own thing, or you get bored and that's where your mind goes? So it was a lot more internal, I guess, than I thought it would be. It wasn't like, here, take away my computer, take away my phone, and yay, I'm all better. Like it was a process of kind of breaking free mentally from it too, like stopping.
Yeah, we have a hard drive right here.
Right.
We have a lot of
and you
porn
can't take it
saved.
out. But it just, when it becomes a coping mechanism, anytime you're stressed or anytime you're bored or anytime, even if you're super happy, like, what do? Well, I don't have it, so I've got it in here though, so let me just excuse myself and I'll be back in a minute. So just learning how to kind of reprogram your brain to not turn to that for a coping mechanism, to not turn to that for like when you're stressed or when you're bored, to learn how to find other things to satisfy or other things to make you feel fulfilled that actually are fulfilling, as opposed to pornography, which is not. It was a lot more mental than I thought it was going to be. So it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, just because I'm such a logical person, and it took a long time. But
you said that you felt like there was a hole you were trying to fill with pornography, right?
Yeah.
And what do you fill that hole with now?
So I have such a great community of friends, and I really think that pornography was almost like, in a really weird way, like a replacement for intimacy. When I started chat room sex, I really thought that those guys
cared about you.
Yeah. Even though I was lying to them, I wasn't telling them who I was or how tall I was or what hair color my hair was. I would tell them if it didn't work, I'd go back out and go in as a different username and try again. So I had this acceptance and this community and this intimacy, but I wasn't being real, and it wasn't real. So I was trying to stuff it in that hole and fill that void with nothing really, and it just kept staying open and kept this wound really. And now I have such great friends and such great relationships that I've experienced that kind of that intimacy and that knowledge and that acceptance even without sex. Like, I'm still a virgin, so I've even experienced this very deep intimacy and just knowing people and being known by people and just acceptance and being loved by people and being able to love people, like for real love people and sacrificially love people, which was completely foreign to me. It was always, you make them happy, you take off the mask and you put it on, and your opinions don't matter, your dreams don't matter, you don't matter, just do what I want you to do. And now it's in this place where my opinions do matter and my dreams do matter and theirs matter to me. So having these deep, intimate friendships and relationships with people has really just helped to heal that area in my life, where pornography, I really, really, really have to be stressed out, like really stressed out to even think about, oh, if I just watched a 5-minute porn video, I'd feel better about myself right now, which I know isn't true. But for the moment, I would feel
feels
better.
like it's true in the moment. Yeah.
Right.
How did you go from recovering yourself to telling your story and trying to help other people?
I was angry. So I grew up in the church, and the church is supposed to be a place where people can come for help, and it's supposed to be a place where people are loved, and it's supposed to be a place where people find healing, and I had not found that. And so I started my story in rage. It was part of my healing process. It was very cathartic. But my website, when I first started it, was just a single web page where I just blasted how the church and Christians had failed me. And that they needed to fix it, they needed to get their stuff together, they needed to get on cue here, like, you need to get the point that women do this, you messed me up, this is your fault, and just very targeted at them and very angry, and that was it. I thought, I'm going to get this all out and I'm going to move on with my life. Like, and then I got an email like, will you come speak to our youth group?
Just from this one random webpage.
Right. And I was like, you want me to come and talk to your teenagers? Like, do you not know how angry I am with you right now? And the whole culture in the church that can be so shameful towards sex, and like how I have a problem with that, and you want me to come and talk to your young people, like you want me to talk to your teenagers. And so I did, and I just started talking to people like, we want to hear your story, we want you to tell us what's going on. In time, it wasn't so angry anymore, and I realized we don't talk about it, or we don't have resources because no one is talking about it. And we're not going to have resources, and we're not going to know how to help people until people do start talking about it. So I have a choice. I can either get mad at no one for talking about it, or I can be the one who starts talking about it. And I can go into these places and just share my story, and that's what I do. I walk in, and I don't have neuroscience stats. I don't have research. I don't have any of that. I just walk in and say, this is my story. This is what a female porn addict looks like.
There's nothing more powerful than that.
And it's worked, and it's just been so powerful, and it's starting a movement, and I'm so excited.
Thank you for being that person.
Have you seen anything in your research that discusses how long-term use affects a woman's brain as opposed to a man's brain?
It's very similar. I mean, we both have similar brains. There are differences, and women often develop the same unhealthy patterns that men do. And sometimes it can be worse, because for a man, naturally has a longer refractory period. Mm-hmm. So after orgasm, there's more of a sense of satisfaction and less of a craving to continue on. But more women have a greater capacity for multiple orgasms. So an orgasm doesn't mean that they're not aroused anymore. They can just keep watching and keep stimulating themselves.
That's very true.
So at least from the women I've talked to, they can tend to use for longer and just get caught up in it for hours and hours.
Right. And it's very interesting, because when I first started talking about women porn use, someone specifically said to me, I've never heard of a woman watching porn for hours. Men watch it for hours.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I watch it for hours and hours and hours. And there's like this phenomenon called the missed O, which is where like you get so close to orgasm and then something happens and you end up coming back. And it frustrates you because you're like, I was so close. And so then you try, then you're frustrated, which means like you really can't, because you're angry and frustrated, but you just keep trying, and like you just keep going because you're like, I was so close and I just want to finish this. And you're like, I gotta get back to that place again. So you can go hours and hours and hours just trying to like stop being frustrated at yourself and then finally climaxing and finally ending it. So it's interesting to me when we talk about porn use that we just assume, even still, I think that girls just kind of watch one video and they're done, and guys watch it for hours, when I really think it might kind of be switched a little.
There are guys who watch it for hours
Right.
too, often delaying their orgasm intentionally so that they can keep watching, keep finding new material. Or once they orgasm, they can click to something more exciting and override that sense of satisfaction and just keep on going. But did you find that it was multiple orgasms per session, or just one that you would build up to over hours?
Well, I guess it just depended on, honestly, it depended on what I was watching. Certain stuff I could be with for hours and it didn't bother, like it didn't pile up, it didn't warm things up quite as fast, whereas other stuff, it was much faster. And then it was honestly like, okay, and then we keep going because I have time, so we're gonna keep doing this. It's like, it wasn't like, okay, I'm done. No, it was, I've still got 5 hours. How many more times can we do this? And we just keep going. So I know I wasn't like the user who was accomplishing a certain goal. I was the person who was like, nah, I've got time. Let's keep going. This is good. So that's how it varied. It just depended on what content I was watching.
So when you speak to young people, do a lot of them come up to you afterwards and open up?
Yes, when I speak, especially to groups of girls, it amazes me, and it shouldn't, but it amazes me the line of girls that'll come up to me, because I think even culturally, not just like in religious circles, but culturally, we just have this vision of women as being these pristine, perfect people, and girls try so hard to keep the perfect body image and the perfect everything.
If they feel like they're not perfect and they hide it.
Right, and they're more perfect. So for them to come up to me and they're the cheerleading captain, or they're the pastor's kid, they're the perfect girl, and for them to just feel like somebody finally knows what I'm going through. These girls who you would say, she would never, ever be into this, that would never, no, she's never. That's exactly who's into it. So to have them line up, it's not the girls who look like they'd be into porn, it's all the girls who look like they would never. And it's just so healing for them, and so they'll come up to me in tears, just, I'm not alone, it's so good to know I'm not alone. And there's a whole line of them, so they were never alone, but they just didn't know it. They had no idea.
For the teenage girls out there maybe who are in the place that you were in, what do you have to say to them, more than what you've already said? Do you have any advice or words of counsel?
First off, I would say that the stuff that you see in pornography is not healthy sex. Like, I want to put that out there. It's not healthy to be beat, it's not healthy to be smacked around, it's not healthy to be disrespected, and if a guy wants to do that to you, you have the ability to tell him no. Like, you have the right to stand up for yourself and respect yourself. You are not a porn doll. Like, you are a person, and you have value, and you have dignity, and you are worthy of respect. And so you respect yourself, and you make other people respect you. You require that of people. That might not make you popular, but it'll make you healthy, and you'd rather be healthy than popular. And if you're into this and watching this stuff, please know that you're not alone, and it doesn't make you a freak. It doesn't make you the next serial killer. It's just something that you struggle with. So many of us, men and women, have struggled with it, and you're not unique in that way. And so don't feel like you can't tell anybody. Please find somebody, if this is something that you struggle with, find somebody that you can talk to about it and have a very healthy and deep conversation with. And don't be afraid of opening up to the right people and learning to develop that real intimacy and that real friendship and that real kind of lasting affection for people, and don't be afraid of that.
And let me just say that even if that decision doesn't make you popular, to respect yourself first, there are people out there who will see that and admire that, and I think that's where you find your true friends.
Absolutely.
So tell me more about your website. What is it called?
So my website is called beggarsdaughter.com, and I started it because I wanted to encapsulate the feelings of a girl who is stuck in pornography. And one of the girls that I had mentored right out of college, she had written this poem about a beggar's daughter and how the beggar was living on the streets and begging for food, and she really didn't want to be there, but people told her, "You're stuck here. You're never going to go anywhere. You're never going to be anything. Stop dreaming about the castle. Stop dreaming about being a princess. You are stuck. You were born a beggar. Your dad's a beggar. You will always be a beggar." And it seemed like it encapsulated like what I had felt. Like, I am stuck here. And don't even try to think about getting out of this. You are stuck. And just this wanting to produce this hope of, this is where they are. And remember, I started this out of anger. Like, you have a bunch of these girls amongst you that are struggling with this, that feel like this, and they should not feel like this. So that's where the name came from, and then just as it grew, it never changed. So that's where it came from. And then I wrote my whole story out in a book entitled Beggar's Daughter as well. It's just kind of, that's who I am. People actually come up to me and go, "So you're a beggar's daughter?" But
And people can find that on your website?
Yes, you can find it on Amazon, my website, and it's also on Barnes & Noble online.
Are there any other resources you recommend for women out there?
So my resources primarily, because I still do work primarily in the church, because I feel like a church is the source of a lot of the shame surrounding sexuality. And I feel like we need to change that conversation within the church, and so I work within the church. So a lot of my resources are Christian-based. I don't really know that there are non-Christian ones, to be honest with you, for women specifically at this point. From a Christian perspective, with a group who's worked with Christians and non-Christians, they've developed a resource called Sexual Sanity for Women, and it goes through the whole recovery from trauma and just how to live a fuller life. So I recommend that to my church groups. It is written so that it can be used with secular groups as well, but I recommend that one.
And there are communities online where you can find other women who are struggling
Yes.
with this. RebootNation.org or YourBrainRebalance.com both have sections for women. Any others that you recommend?
No, I think that I'm just excited that there are sections for women. Yay! Because before, whenever we talked about women, it was always the girlfriends of the addicts or the wives of the addicts, right? And so now we're actually talking about women who are giving them a safe space. And for some women, that's enough. Just knowing they're not alone is enough for them to go, "Oh, yeah," and they stop. So.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. I really appreciate this. Beggarsdaughter.com. Go to learn more about her and invite her to speak.
Yes.
Because she's an excellent speaker.
Thank you.
I'll see you all next time. This has been Noah Church.